I call this meeting of the Davenport Community School District Board of Directors to order. We appreciate your attendance at this board meeting. By attending meetings, you can learn about the accomplishments, needs, and concerns we face. The board meets regularly on the first Monday for committee of the whole meetings and second and fourth Mondays of each month for regular meetings. Open forum for the public is available at regular meetings. All meetings are open to the public except closed and exempt sessions, which are permitted by certain sections of Iowa Code. All board decisions, however, are made in public open session. The board is not a forum. It is a deliberative body. Accordingly, it receives communications, both oral and written, as a medium of information. It does not debate the contents of such communications, but considers them in making decisions and in the establishment of policies. During each regular board meeting, there is an opportunity to address the board by completing an open forum request and giving it to the board secretary prior to the meeting. Each person may have up to 2 minutes of time to speak. This is a time of listening by the school board, so the board does not make any comments during open forum. The issue will usually be referred to the administration for further study and follow-up if necessary. When the board president recognizes you, direct your comments to the entire board and limit your remarks to 2 minutes unless extra time has been approved by the board president prior to the meeting. The school board president will recognize one speaker at a time and will rule out of order other speakers who are not recognized. Only those speakers recognized by the chair will be allowed to speak. Comments by others are out of order. The school board president shall promptly rule out of order any discussion by any person, including school board members, that would violate the provisions of state or federal law, our open forum policy, or the statutory rights of privacy of an individual. To ensure that the board can conduct the important business of the district, the following guidelines apply to all members of the public who attend board meetings. The board asks that all members of the public treat open forum speakers, district employees, and the board with respect. Individuals are not permitted to engage in conduct that interferes with the ability of other individuals to watch the board meetings, interferes with the ability of other members of the public to offer comment to the board, or interferes with the ability of the board to conduct its business. Demonstrations during public comments, such as clapping or cheering in response to either public comments or statements made by board members, is discouraged. Those wishing to display placards, signs, and/or banners may not block any attendee's view of the proceedings. Before we continue, I need to check something. I want to note that Section 8.11, approval to extend superintendent contract, I'm going to take that off of the agenda, and so that will not be an action item for this evening. We'll continue with our, first I had to note that Director Gosa, I think, is attending by phone, right? Okay, thank you, Director Gosa. And Director Mayfield, I believe, is unable to attend this evening. Okay. We'll move on with board priorities and the mission and vision statement. Director Gosa, are you at a point that you want to read the board priorities, or should we give that to somebody else?
I can read it if you want me to.
Sure.
The Davenport School Board establishes the following priorities to ensure the academic success of all students. provide leadership and direction to improve the overall learning environment in our classrooms, schools, and district, including the health, safety, security, and happiness of students and staff. Direct and support actions, programs, and activities which reduce the impacts of poverty on our students, their families, and our community.
Thank you very much. Director Beck, would you please read our mission and vision statements?
Yes, the mission statement: enhance each student's abilities by providing a quality education enriched by our diverse community. And the vision statement: education that challenges conventional thinking, prepares all students to compete in a global society, and inspires our students, parents, staff, and community to ask the question, what if?
Thank you very much. Looks like we can't have any student board reports tonight. Is that right? That's correct. Okay, thank you. So we'll move on to board reports. Are there any? Director DeSalvo.
A couple things. First, that all board members had the opportunity last week to visit with the State Department of Ed as part of the Phase 2 audit. Discussions were very successful and very informative, and so that was a good experience, I believe, for everyone involved. Update on the superintendent candidate search. Despite a lot of weather attempts at delaying our process, we had to shift some schedules around, but we spent 3 days last week, very long, very full days. We started at 7:30 in the morning and didn't conclude till sometime usually around 8:30 or 9 in the evening, with different discussions with the 3 candidates. We brought in, I would say each candidate visited with probably over 100 members of our community. That included parents, that included students, that included teachers, administrative members, community members, business partners. It was a very good discussions. So those meetings occurred. The board visited with the candidates again. So at this time, we are reviewing where we're at with that process, and when it is applicable, we will be able to make an announcement of where we're at in that process at this time. So very good discussions. Last week it was a very, very busy week, but everything went very well. So I would like to thank Rachel Steiner, Mary Crothers, Don Sowell, John Border, Dr. Erica Goldstone, Jabari Woods. There was a lot of people that helped make those meetings very successful. And of course, all of the people that took the time out of their busy days to come and visit with this group. I would like to note that the interviews are on our website. One session of those, please take a look at them. They're very informative, and I think will answer a lot of questions that perhaps the community has about each candidate. So I would refer you to our website, go to the superintendent search link, and you will find videos of interviews with those candidates. So again, thanks to the community, thanks to everybody that helped with that process. And as we continue forward, we will keep you informed along the way.
Thank you. Any other reports? Director Hayes.
Just want to report on Friday night, I braved the elements to go out to A Night to Shine, the little prom for special needs. Had a really, really great time kind of walking through, watching some of the young people and just the excitement on their face. And oh my God, they were beautiful. I mean, just all dressed up. And there were makeup booths, shoe shine booths, flower booths, pictures, all sorts of things. There probably were 20 or 30 of them there with service dogs as well, but it was a very nice community event for everyone.
Thank you. Anything else? Did you have?
I do have one.
Director DeSalvo.
This hasn't happened yet, but it's happening Monday, and I would just like to remind people that we have a wonderful event planned for our high school students on Monday. We will be taking hopefully 2 busloads of students to the Capitol to visit with our local legislators. We have an event planned where they get to meet with the governor in her office. This is a wonderful opportunity for our high school students to learn about the legislative process and to visit our very beautiful Capitol. So we will be there Monday, and I would just add that it's President's Day, and the students are doing this on their own time as well as the staff. So I'll be traveling with them, and I'll send you pictures along the way. But we're looking forward to that event once again, and again, the generosity of time by our legislators and our governor are very much appreciated.
Anything else? I have a couple of things. The superintendent search, I wanted to make a couple of additional comments. I don't know whether Director DeSalvo mentioned also that we had over 900 leadership profile statements that, and I think you have all of those
I have all
as
of that.
well, and all those
do.
are other community input that came in, and I think they're all written documents.
They are.
The way that I understand it.
They
So,
are.
and I wanted to thank HYA and all of the work that they did in helping us to conduct this search, and I'm sure we'll be talking more about all that later. I wanted to thank Director DeSalvo also. And, you know, some of the things that happen up here on the board are probably pretty boring, I guess, to all of you out there, but oftentimes it takes a lot of work. And board members are very, very engaged in what's going on in the community and in the district. And maybe it appears to some that at times they are not. I wanted to note, however, that as a for instance, Director DeSalvo spent at least 3 days of vacation just on this specific project so that it could be managed like that. And that's something that probably very few people ever see, acknowledge, anything, but I want to say thank you very much to Director Salvo for that. What's that?
Director.
Oh, there were a number of people. Yeah, I had down here Director Beck, Director Potts, and you mentioned most of them already. And there were a lot of people that participated in this. And outside of just all of those comments and community input, I would just guess, you start thinking about it and all the phone calls and everything else. I believe that the engagement, I believe that the people that participated and that conducted this went above and beyond the call of duty. So thank you to everybody. One other thing that I just wanted to mention, and I'm going to try to develop a more comprehensive statement, but recently we've been getting a lot of emails on a lot of issues. And I'm talking about emails that, especially when they're coming from community members for all sorts of issues. And it's very, very difficult for all of us to handle that. And if it is something that an individual board member wants to respond, I would recommend extreme care in crafting your message. And when it has to do with something that really is district business, what I would ask is that for now, that you just forward those to our board secretary, and then she will send them on to the administration, and the administration can take care of whatever it is that has to be handled. And like I say, I'll have a better statement sometime in the future, but if you have questions about it, you can get with me later. That's it. We'll move on to communications. Director DeSalvo, you want to read those for us?
Sure. February 13th, Wednesday at 3:30, there's a policy meeting in the Executive Boardroom, Achievement Service Center, 1702 Main Street. February 18th, as I just mentioned, that's this coming Monday. It's the Get on the Bus trip to the state capitol. February 25th, the following Monday at 6 p.m., regular board meeting in the Jim Hester Boardroom, Achievement Service Center, 1702 Main Street. March 4th, Monday at 5:30, Committee of the Whole meeting in the Achievement Service Center, 1702 Main Street, Davenport. March 6th, Wednesday, 3:30, Policy Committee, Executive Boardroom, Achievement Service Center, 1702 Main Street, Davenport. March 11th, Monday, 6 p.m., regular board meeting in the Jim Hester Boardroom, Achievement Service Center, 1702 Main Street, Davenport. March 25th, Monday, 6 p.m., regular board meeting in the Jim Hester Boardroom, Achievement Service Center, 1702 Main Street, Davenport.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to open forum. We have one open forum request. Open forum is a time for members of the community to give input at a board meeting regarding school district issues or concerns. Individuals who want to speak should fill out an open forum request and give it to the board secretary prior to open forum. The board will not act on any issue presented during open forum if it was not published as an agenda item. The Iowa Open Meetings Law prohibits action on any issue that is not on the agenda. The president will set the amount of time allowed for individuals to speak during open forum. The board asks that no charges or complaints be made against individual employees of the district or community during open forum. Remarks that reflect negatively on the character or motives of any person will be called out of order. It is just one, right, Mary? Okay, we have one from Andrew Kaufman. Andrew, please come up to the microphone, give us your name and address, and then I'd say try to limit it to 3 minutes.
Okay. Andrew Kaufman, 4415 North Oak Street. Father of Matthew Kaufman in the special needs program at Bluegrass Elementary. Here tonight because I've been in a fight with Davenport Schools for 3 years on proper care of my child. IEPs, violations of IEPs, and I continue to see it in the news and that you guys are working on it. I started IEPs. I started with the school level, with the teacher. We knew everybody was not in compliance. I contacted board members, many of you sitting in front of me, with no response back from you. Therefore, I'm here tonight to maybe get a louder voice. And inevitably, after a systematic failure of 3 years, I finally turned you into the state of Iowa. And not until I turned you into the state did we start to get results. That's my number one concern. And then tonight I find out real late, all of a sudden my son is going to a different school next year. I know you guys haven't announced it yet, but we've worked really hard to get a decent principal and a really good teacher to take care of my son's needs, and he's excelling. And then I find out that he's going to one of the worst elementary schools next year in the state of Iowa, according to public rankings. Extremely disappointed. Really disappointed in the fact that nobody on the board has ever returned a phone call in 3 years. And then we just addressed that before I stood up here before you, that you encouraged board members not to respond to parents. Your elected officials, you work for me, not the district. You work for everybody in this room, not the district. You work for these children, not the district. And I hope we can stand up for those kids. If I need to bring a picture of my son so you guys can personally see him, he's not a number on a piece of paper. He's a kid with a tremendous potential. He's in a good spot, and now you're going to move him because of a piece of paper, and he's just a number. Completely disappointed in you. The second thing I want to address, the search for the new school board president. I hope that you guys take in consideration somebody of high moral value and not somebody that's willing to break the law because they don't agree with the law. That's not a good representation to teach our children at any level. And then budgetary. The third thing I want to talk about. The special needs program does not have the money they need. My child's school does not have an age-appropriate program for the young kids. It's built out of steel. It's probably 30 years old, and he spent $2.4 million on a stadium so kids can run faster. Education should be number one. I was fortunate to grow up in a school where education came first, sports came second. I wouldn't care, and I'm sure many other parents in this district would agree with me. You can cancel every single one of the sports programs until you get your academics straightened out. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments, Andrew. We'll move on to the consent agenda. May I have a motion?
Mr. President,
Director DeSalvo.
I move that the board approve the consent agenda as written.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Call for the vote. Director DeSalvo.
Yes.
Director Hayes.
Yes.
Director Gosa.
Yes.
Director Potts.
Yes.
Director Beck.
Yes.
And my vote is yes. Motion carries. Thank you. May I have a motion regarding the J&M civil design contract?
That's a consent agenda.
What's,
That's a consent.
You just approved that.
oh, that is part of the consent agenda. I apologize. We'll move on to the approval of bills. May I have a motion regarding approval of bills?
Mr. President,
Director DeSalvo.
I move that the board, I think I'm in the right place, approve the following resolution as recommended by the administration for adoption of the bills from the bill listing periods of January 24th, 2019 through February 6th, 2019. Resolved, all claims presented to the board having been duly certified as correct by the secretary, reviewed by the administration and board members, and they are hereby audited and allowed as just claims and warrants drawn on the treasury for the several amounts. Further resolved, the payment of claims and salaries be approved as presented for the periods of January 24th, 2019 through February 6th, 2019.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, call for the vote. Director DeSalvo.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Director Beck.
Yes.
Director Gosa.
Yes.
Director Potts.
Yes.
Director Hayes.
Yes.
And my vote is yes. Motion carries. Thank you. Superintendent report.
I have two items I'd like to report on. The first one being, right now our labor management teams and district officials are working to adjust our calendar that will allow us for a dismissal time in the first week of June again. And we're looking at all items. We've been receiving a lot of feedback about suggestions and things like that. And so right now we are looking at extending days, adjusting our Wednesdays, looking at days in the calendar that we could get back. Our ultimate goal, and we believe that we can accomplish this goal, is to get back to the first week of June like we were scheduled to be. So I wanted to give an update on that. We should have a calendar potentially to send out this week, if not early next week. Fair? Okay. The second thing I wanted to give a report on is the Phase 2 audit. We've finished most of our Phase 2 audit. The only reason why we were unable to finish it was because of the weather. I'd like to thank our state team. They were very flexible with us. There were about 20 members scheduled all across this building. All of our interactions with that state team were positive. They were flexible with us. We were flexible with them. They reviewed all of our documentation reviews, interviewed parents, community members. They were very inclusive of their process. I believe they have to come back to finish up some, maybe some interviews and some file reviews. But I requested a do now document from them that they would give us this week, and we would begin to hammer away at the things that we need to do now, right now. So they agreed that they would send that to us early this week so we could begin the work necessary to becoming the best district that we can be. The other thing I'd like to comment on, Brad Niebling and Barbara Guy, they led us through a district, basically a 3-day district retreat. And it was a group of district leaders, and it was a very rigorous process. We had to come to consensus about all different aspects of our district, and we walked away with a continuous improvement plan that will be led by the state. And I will tell you, that was a very positive process for us. And we see it as an opportunity to grow, an opportunity to learn from the people of the state. I think associate superintendents, they saw it as consultation services for free by 2 experts from the state. And so we are walking away from our phase 2 audit with whatever comes with us. We're going to be a stronger district for it, and we're ready for it. And so we look forward to that Do Now document that we're going to get, and we're going to begin to move forward. I know that in our conversations, if we ran across something that we needed to fix, we began fixing it immediately. So that finishes my report.
Okay, thank you very much. Move on to other items requiring action. May I have a motion on the approval of plans and specifications for the Williams Air Conditioning in the Kitchen project?
Mr. President,
Director Hayes.
I move the board approve the plans and specification for the Williams Air Conditioning in the Kitchen project.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
We will now hold a public hearing on the approval of plans and specifications for the Williams Air Conditioning in the Kitchen project as published in the Quad City Times on February 1st, 2019. Anyone wishing to speak on this item, please step forward to the microphone. State your name and address for the record. Seeing and hearing none, I now declare the public hearing closed. Is there any additional discussion on this matter? Director Beck.
Could somebody please explain exactly what this is? Is it literally air conditioning in a kitchen? Or is it, because it's all capitals, it sounds like it's something else.
Yes, it's air conditioning in the kitchen.
They have none?
They don't have any. So it gets really hot in there, so.
Well, yeah, okay, thank you.
And the way the kitchen is, they've got the dishwasher, all the kitchen equipment, it's all in the same space, so it gets really hot.
Okay.
Any other discussion? All right. I'll call for the vote. Director Hayes,
Yes.
Director Beck,
Yes.
Director DeSalvo,
Yes.
Director Gosa,
Yes.
Director Potts,
Yes.
and my vote is yes. Motion carries. Thank you. May I have a motion regarding approval of the bid for the Williams Parking Addition project?
Mr. President,
Director Hayes.
I move that the board approve the lowest responsible and responsive bid of $140,935 for the KE flat work for the Williams West Side Parking Addition project.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Director DeSalvo.
Forgive me if there was a map in here and I missed it, but it's the west side. Is that down below the hill in the back?
Correct.
Okay.
The southwest side,
And you're going to expand out into that field area?
yes.
Okay. And will staff be able to enter on that lower door? I think it's a locker room or something.
They're still gonna have to come down the driveway,
They will.
yes.
And back and forth. So,
Yep.
Is that going to be safe for them in the winter? Like when we're looking at-
We're gonna extend the driveway out so you can even park on the side of the hill.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Any other discussion? Okay, we'll call for the vote. Director Hayes,
Yes.
Director DeSalvo,
Yes.
Director Beck,
Yes.
Director Gosa,
Yes.
Director Potts,
Yes.
And my vote is yes. Motion carries. Thank you. May I have a motion regarding approval of the bid for the North High and Smart Partial Roof Replacement Project?
Mr. President,
Director Beck.
I move that the board approve the lowest responsible and responsive bid of $860,500 from Economy Roofing for the North High and FL Smart Partial Roof Replacement Project.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, call for the vote. Director Beck,
Yes.
Director Potts?
Yes.
Director DeSalvo,
Yes.
Director Gosa,
Yes.
Director Hayes?
Yes.
My vote is yes. Motion carries. Thank you. May I have a motion regarding approval of bid for Central High School Masonry Project?
Mr. President,
Director Beck.
I move that the board approve the lowest responsible responsive bid of $569,972 from Bi-State Masonry Incorporated for the Central High School south side of the main building masonry project.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, call for the vote. Director Beck,
Yes.
Director Hayes,
Yes.
Director Potts?
Yes.
Director Gosa,
Yes.
Director DeSalvo.
Yes.
My vote is yes. Motion carries. Thank you. May I have a motion regarding approval of bid for the Adams and Williams restroom remodel project?
Mr. President,
Director DeSalvo.
I move the board accept the administration's recommendation to approve the lowest responsible and responsive bid from Fry Builders in the amount of $254,400 for the Adams and Williams restroom remodel project.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, call for the vote. Director DeSalvo,
Yes.
Director Hayes,
Yes.
Director Gosa,
Yes.
Director Potts.
Yes.
Director Beck.
Yes.
And my vote is yes. Motion carries. Thank you. May I have a motion for approval of contract with BLDD Architects?
Mr. President,
Director Hayes.
I move the board approve the contract with BLDD Architects for the Central High School locker room renovation in the amount of $78,000.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay. I'll,
Whatever you like. Right now.
the superintendent would like to make a couple of comments, and I think it would be best to do it in the discussion on the vote before we take the vote.
This is a comment to your board request, Director Goza, and to request of other board members of the urgency about this project. We talked at the agenda committee today that we will have a timeline presented to board secretary by next Monday that will lay out exactly when you will see different parts of this project, as some of these things require different timelines. And so we want you to know we heard what you said last time, and this is the start of that, and it will be published. We will have a timeline for that project given to Mary so you guys can see when that project will unfold.
All right, thank you very much. Any additional discussion? Okay, we'll call for the vote. Director Hayes,
Yes.
Director Potts.
Yes.
Director DeSalvo,
Yes.
Director Gosa,
Yes.
Director Beck.
Yes.
And my vote is yes. Motion carries. Thank you. May I have a motion regarding approval of contract with Studio 483 Architects?
Mr. President,
Director DeSalvo.
I move that the board accept administration's recommendation to approve the contract with Studio 483 Architects for the North High School Field House in the amount of $71,800.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
I think we skipped one.
I can't hear you.
Who can you not hear?
She thinks we skipped one?
Did we skip
one?
the?
No.
Oh, no, never mind. Sorry, I went too far ahead.
She did what I did last time.
Okay, are we good? Okay, we're on item 8.07.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Who did the second?
Huh?
Who did the second?
I think it was.
I can't hear you.
Who did the second?
We didn't have one.
Oh, yes, we did. The second
Second.
was from Director Hayes.
Oh,
Okay, is there any discussion? We're on 8.07, approval of the contract with Studio 483 Architects for $71,800. The motion was made by DeSalvo and seconded by Hayes. Is there any additional discussion? Okay, call for the vote. Director DeSalvo,
Yes.
Director Hayes,
Yes.
Director Gosa,
Yes.
Director Potts,
Yes.
Director Beck,
yes.
and my vote is yes. Motion carries. Thank you. May I have a motion regarding on 8.08, approval of contract with Studio 483 Architects,
Mr. President,
Director Beck.
I recommend that the board approve the contract with Studio 483 Architects for the West High School Corridor Remodel Project in the amount of $71,000.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, call for the vote. Director Beck,
Yes.
Director DeSalvo,
Yes.
Director Potts,
Yes.
Director Gosa,
Yes.
Director Hayes.
Yes.
My vote is yes. Motion carries. Thank you. I have a motion regarding the approval of contract with IMEG. This is section 8.09.
Mr. President,
Director Hayes.
I move the board approve the contract with IMEG Engineers in the amount of $220,900 for the Hayes Boiler and Mechanical Replacement Project.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Director DeSalvo.
It's not really a question, but just a comment that in reading this yesterday, I believe this was equipment that was over 20 years old and failing.
Mhm.
So I strongly hope that this will get done very quickly.
Julie, you have to.
I'm sorry, I hate this thing. In reading this, it was shown that this is the HVAC system is over 20 years old in this building. You're hearing an awful lot of things tonight, but obviously this is another very important one to make sure that our students are safe in our buildings and that we keep our equipment and boilers up to the status that they need to be to keep our staff and our students safe.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Okay, we'll call for the vote. Director Hayes.
Yes.
Director DeSalvo.
Yes.
Director Potts.
Yes.
Director Gosa.
Yes.
Director Beck.
Yes.
And my vote is yes. Motion carries. Thank you. May I have a motion on 8.10, approval of modified bargaining structure?
Mr. President,
Director Hayes.
I move that the structure for the negotiation teams and bargaining be modified.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Sorry, I was Director Hayes.
Could someone go through and clearly explain that for clarification?
Director Gosa, you want to give it a shot to start?
I sure will.
Okay.
So President Johansson and I we've been talking about this for a little bit now. When it comes to negotiating contracts with the different bargaining groups, normally the administration does it and then we will settle with, say, the janitors first and then the teachers, and then it comes to the administration, and it is, well, you gave these guys this, you gave these guys this, so now you should give us this. So it kind of seemed like they're kind of bargaining for themselves on the front end. So we were talking about having the board have more of a lead role in the bargaining end of it, and I think we'll get better reception and work better with the different bargaining groups because they know the financial strengths that we're in now, and I think it'll be a little bit easier of a process. You got anything you'd like to add to that, President Johansson?
Yes. But I'm going to see if there's any other discussion before I get into it. Director DeSalvo.
So would this mean the board as a whole or just board representation in that process?
What was the first part? Would it be what?
Would the board as a whole be participating, or would it just be certain board members that would participate in that process?
I've discussed this with our lawyer, and she has indicated that it would be totally inappropriate for the whole board to participate.
Okay.
And that I think it's it'll be, I mean, I've got lists here, and we have had a board member participate on some of the negotiation teams in the past. We're looking for data throughout the state, how many districts have this kind of an arrangement. We don't have that yet, but I will say that there may be senses of urgency, especially with everything going on, that some of these changes at least be considered. So I wanted to respond a little bit differently than Director Gosa. I think that in my experiences with negotiations, normally the board gets together to establish a negotiation strategy, and they work out the strategy with members of the negotiating team, and then the team is the team works oftentimes with another lawyer that gets involved, and the board is not part of any of those negotiations generally. And so I think that what we're looking at here, and when you look at most of these, it looks like, I'm just going to count real quick. I'd say that most of these teams, there are 3 of them indicated here. And this one, it looks like on the average, I would say each team probably has about 10 members that are on the negotiating team. And so I think that the sense of this is to take it slow and easy, but to have board participation on that negotiating team, unless there's a good reason not to. And I know that in past boards, it's been something that's been kind of frowned upon. I can't tell you why. All I can say is that it was. So, I don't know, does superintendent or somebody with more experience have any reasons that we would oppose having a couple of board members on a team like that?
Associate Superintendent Scott, you are a part of that committee. I would just say, I know it's been a past practice for a board member to participate in this and to play an active role, so it's not out of the norm to suggest that. Whatever the role of that board member is, or board members, whatever you guys are recommending, I would just move forward with caution to make sure it's done the right way. That would be my advice to the school board. Associate Superintendent Scott?
Yeah, we've had it both ways, and we've had it where a board member did sit on the committee. I mean, Director Roberson, and we've had it where he wasn't able to join us. So we've had it both ways, and so I think we would just follow the direction of the board.
Director Potts.
Two things. I was wondering why we didn't have a conversation about this at a committee of the whole meeting prior to bringing it up at a board meeting for a vote. Second, I would assume there would be some sort of parameter set so that it did not appear that any board member serving on a negotiations committee was committing the board to more than perhaps the parameters the board had initially set. I would be concerned that board members on the committee may decide that since they're board members, they may be able to overstep what the board may have set as their bargaining parameters. Do you understand what I'm saying?
So let me answer both those questions. The first is that, and it was probably primarily due to my sense of urgency, even though it may not appear that there's any sense of urgency to renegotiating any contract right now. I think that there may be senses of urgency that certain things be considered. And those may be considered very quickly. So the second part is that, and you're right, I think parameters, right now, I don't even know if we have written parameters. We have kind of, what's the right word? And I wouldn't even say it's protocol, it's just kind of, that's the way we've always done it. And the way that we've done it is that committee, the negotiating team does not have the final authority to agree. And so, but I think it would be appropriate to establish a little bit of parameters, protocol, maybe for the committee, but also for the board members. Director Beck.
I guess I'm hesitant to vote on such a vague statement. Just out of an abundance of caution, I think it's a perfectly good idea, but I guess I'd like to see a well-articulated rationale and then a statement saying one or two board members or whatever the ideal is, because, I mean, we're talking about it, but I guess normally we discuss these things in advance, and I'm more comfortable voting when I've had a chance to ask all my questions. So I guess I just want to say I'm not really comfortable with voting right now, but I do appreciate the sense of urgency.
And that's all right to be uncomfortable, and to vote no. And like I say, there are things that are in play, and the way that this was worded is that the structure of the negotiating teams for bargaining be modified. And the reason it was worded that way, rather than a specific, here's how we want to do it, is that this has never been discussed. And yet, the board could go ahead and approve, and this motion could be modified, for instance, to have two board members be allowed to participate on the negotiating teams. That could be it. We could say we want to postpone this to another time, but it is in a regular board meeting, so we can vote on it if we want to. I'll leave it at that. Director DeSalvo.
So is the item that you want us to vote on here just to say let's look at the structure and make changes, but we're not solidifying what those changes may be. We're just saying yeah, we want to change the structure of those negotiating teams, and we are approving, or we would approve if we take the vote. That's what we're voting on.
I think that'd be a really weak vote. It doesn't really say anything.
Right.
And so I would anticipate that the motion may be amended to, for instance, a simple statement that the board recommends that the structure of the negotiating teams for bargaining be modified to include up to 2 board members. That would be a simple modification that it would positively change the structure of the team, and it would get things moving. If we're just going to vote on changing the structure, then that seems like it would put it off until a committee of the whole meeting so that we could discuss what do we want to do, and then we would probably vote on it at another time. Any other discussions?
So can I amend the motion?
Hang on just a minute, Director Gosa. Director Potts has a question.
So why didn't we word it that way in the first place?
The reason that it was worded this way was so that we could have a discussion about what does this mean? And if there were, if there were strong opposition to it, it might be that the board says, no, we don't want to participate in negotiations. Or as Director DeSalvo asked originally, would the whole board participate? And so that was the reason, was to allow some discussion along those lines. Director Gosa, you were going to say something.
So can I amend the motion?
You can make a motion to amend the motion, that's correct.
Okay, I make a motion to amend the motion.
Okay.
You have to amend it by saying what he's going to amend it to.
I understand.
Oh, well, I know, but he didn't do that.
No, that's what I'm going to ask him for. So do you want to give us the words on your amendment? Or do you want me to suggest them?
I would go with the board recommends that the structure of the negotiating teams for bargaining be modified to allow 2 board members to participate. Does that sound right?
Yep.
Say up to 2.
Should it be up to 2 board members or 2 board members?
Okay, is there a second to the amendment?
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion on the amendment? Director Potts?
I just have a couple of questions. One, how many units do we bargain with? And when in the day does most of that bargaining take place for those units? Because depending on when that takes place, the number of board members that are available to sit in on these may be greatly reduced. I don't think we anticipate board members having to take vacation time to be one of 10 people sitting in a room bargaining.
And that's correct. And I can't answer the first question. I do have lists here of 4 of the bargaining groups. And I can't tell just looking if there are more. But the dedication of time, I think you just dedicated almost a whole week.
Well, yes, but
Okay,
I have a lot of time.
I
I'm
understand.
retired. Everybody else isn't.
I understand. But, oh. Sure. You want to talk on this, Jabari?
Good evening. I provide a list to you to give you our, oh. Yep, I got it. That list that you're looking at is our representation of our classified groups and some members from the DA and teacher groups. And I'd be remiss if I didn't just mentioned something I think I heard you right, but the structure of negotiation in the district is led solely by the board. The board gives recommendations directly to the administration on what to negotiate, the amount to negotiate. At no time can any administrator determine or manipulate or kind of coerce what those numbers will be. Jim Hanks was our chief negotiator for the times I was here in the district, and prior to being here, I negotiated for the AEAs. It's a similar structure, but everything is really directed by our board. When I saw the request to get the modification, I gladly send the list, but I had a lot of questions as to currently where we are with Chapter 20. Why are we doing it so soon? So there's some things I just want to ask, and I couldn't ask in this forum to offer me to come up. So I just had some concerns about what I heard and want to make sure everyone was aware of what the structure is and how we do it in the district.
While you're up there, could you try to answer Director Potts' question, give an idea of the time involved, if that's possible? I mean, it's something that shouldn't occur frequently, but
Sure.
what kind of time commitment is there?
So what we do is we send out an email to get as many people that want to participate in negotiations for that negotiation season. What happens is people sign up, but that list you see represented there, not everyone's able to make it to negotiations because of the timing. So we might have 5 of those members that you're reading there that participate, but the goal is to have representation on the board. I would say, and again, I'm going on the time I've been here, we're more of a hybrid bargaining group. What that means is we have a little bit of interest-based, but a lot of solution focus, and that's built on the relationships we've had with our classified groups and our teachers union. So the district kind of built that over a period of time. I came in initially, and there was a lot of distrust, but over a period of time, we've developed that relationship. I do know in conversations with Larry Robertson, he had participated at one time, and I'm not sure what happened after that. I think the board had decided maybe stepping away. I'm not really sure the details, but whether we have a board member present or not, everything's done in a very respectful and done with integrity. So whatever you want to do.
Looks like Dr. Goldstone may want to say a few words.
You had asked when these occur. They occur during the day. They are usually about 2 to 2.5 hours for each of the bargaining groups. You ask, who do we bargain for? We bargain custodial, paras, secretary, food service, teachers. We try to have them lined up, doing perhaps 2 or 3 per day.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other discussion, questions? Director Beck.
Could you read the amendment as it is currently?
Sure. The amendment is, I'll read the whole motion as amended, or as recommended to be amended. The board recommends that the structure of the negotiating teams for bargaining be modified to allow 2 board members to participate. And I don't remember when I was writing it, it must be in negotiations.
May I ask, should we have up to 2 board members?
Well,
I know
that's
it's not the
that's not the way
emotion.
that Director Gosa said it. So I just tried to describe it the way that he said that. You could ask for a friendly amendment and see if he would accept it.
Director Gosa, may I make a friendly amendment to add the words up to the number of board members?
Uh-oh.
No, I'm still here. I guess I don't see what the big deal is with it, but if that's going to help you out, yeah, you can add that in there.
Okay, thank you for that. So that's a friendly amendment. The amendment that's on the table has been modified through a friendly amendment to allow those words up to. So it would be for bargaining to be modified to allow up to 2 board members to participate in negotiations. Okay, thank you. Is there anything else? Any additional discussion? Director Potts.
So I read that as being, it's like we may, but we don't have to. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
And remember that as we vote here, this vote will only be on the amendment that we're making, and then depending on how that happens, we'll make a decision on the original motion. Any additional discussion on the amendment? Is it clear, Director Hayes?
I just want to make sure we're clear. We're voting first on the friendly amendment or the amendment?
The friendly amendment does not require a vote.
Okay.
The friendly amendment was accepted by the board member that made the motion to amend. So this motion that we are voting on is the total amendment, which is, we're modifying this whole statement, which would to allow up to 2 board members to participate in negotiations. Okay, but it is not voting on the whole motion, just the amendment. Is it clear? Okay. If there's no other discussion, we'll call for the vote. Director Hayes.
Yes.
Director Gosa.
Yes.
Director Potts.
Yes.
Director DeSalvo.
Yes.
Director Beck.
Yes.
My vote is yes. Motion carries. So the motion on the table now is the board recommends that the structure of the negotiating teams for bargaining be modified to allow up to 2 board members to participate in negotiations. That then is the motion that we'll be voting on. Is there any additional discussion? Okay, call for the vote. Director Hayes.
Yes.
Director Gosa.
Yes.
Director Potts.
Yes.
Director DeSalvo.
Yes.
Director Beck.
Yes.
My vote is yes. Motion carries. Thank you. As I mentioned, we are not going to address 8.11. We'll move on to 9.01. Interim Superintendent Schneckloff.
Susan, lead us through this portion of our agenda, please.
Okay, let's see here. So I'm here for my biweekly update, and let me take you to, oh, I'm having a little trouble with the mouse. There we go. So last time, I didn't present on Appendix A and Appendix B because there hadn't been enough time between meetings. So I am going to present on it today just to show you the progress over the last few weeks. The school days that we've missed have impacted that a little bit, but Sandy and I are working with AEA so that we can play catch up because we still intend to have everything done by April 23rd. I just wanted to tell you that. So again, for Appendix A, there were 46 IEPs that the state reviewed that we needed to fix. And last time we had completed 29 of those, and as of January 31st, there have been 34 done, so we're up to 73.91%. We're not going to have a problem completing Appendix A. The big appendix was, of course, let me see here, Appendix B. That's where the bulk of the citations were. So as of December 31st, they had held 2,207 IEPs out of the 2,866, and as of January 31st,
we were at 2,286 had been completed out of the 2,866. So we went from 77% to 79%. Again, we missed some days in January due to the weather, Martin Luther King Day. It was the end of the quarter, so we had an in-service day, and that sort of cut into our progress, but our teams are working to make that up. I just wanted to assure you of that. And then our compensatory ed numbers, and I also have the pie graph in there. As of the last meeting, we had 198 students that had qualified for compensatory ed. We're now up to 215 students. That's as of last Friday, because we update every Friday. You have the link to that. And then you can kind of see that the students receiving comp ed, 114 are currently in progress. Students in need of a teacher are 30. We had about 20 students identified within the last couple of weeks, and we're still working on setting up contracts with those districts where students are attending outside of our district, so like Chicago, in other states, as well as in a couple of other districts in Iowa, and that's just a little trickier for us to try to set those up. So those are in those numbers as well, but we will get that done. Students that declined were at still 26. I didn't change that number, so it's higher. It's like 30 now that have declined services, again, for a variety of reasons, being that some of the students have dropped, so they don't want to come back. Some parents said there was no need, so we just get a variety of reasons in there. Again, no-show has dropped down to 4. We were able to find one of those students, and they have decided to start showing up for compensatory ed. We had a meeting with the parent. The parent said they wanted it, so we worked together. So that's new. Let's see here. No response for multiple attempts. Well, that's down to 16, so we were able to locate a student and their family. And let's see here, completed, now we have 29 that are completely done with their compensatory ed. So that is just as of, I'm going to go back over here, last Friday, and actually, I like this graphic better because it lets us see where we stand. And again, you have a link to that so that you can look at it every week. Any questions on our compensatory ed or Appendix A and Appendix B?
Yes. Director Hayes?
Yes, I do have a question with Appendix B from December to January, and I know we had snow days that we were only able to complete 79 of them, and you're confident that we're going to catch up and get
So, right now, yes, we are. We do have to play a little catch up here because those snow days, some of our buildings had multiple meetings scheduled, and they had to be rescheduled for in the next week or so. So hopefully that'll go up. Sandy and I again are going to meet with AEA just to confirm. We've reached out to our buildings. It's going to be tight because losing those days that we had meetings scheduled on, is kind of hard. But right now, we're still confident that we're going to make it.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions?
Director Beck?
I actually have a slightly related question about changes to special ed, but not specifically to this.
I can't hardly hear you. What? Say again?
Oh, I'm sorry. I have a related question, but not specifically related to this table. So I'm trying to figure out where to fit that in.
Just ask it.
Oh, go for it.
Okay. Just a question. I know along with all of this work that we're doing, one of the things we're doing is shifting to providing a continuum of services so that kids can go to their
Neighborhood building, yes, home schools, yes.
And we heard from one parent tonight who said that their child was being moved to another school. And so I guess I'd just like to know where we are in that process and if there are some programs that we're not able to provide in every school and how that
So for the most part, we are able to provide in every building. The buildings where we are still working it out will actually be the students that live in Buffalo, Walcott, and Bluegrass, because we only have a handful of students out there. So we haven't worked through which site that will be in or for those services. And we're going to continue to talk about that tomorrow and sort of work through that. Other than that, every other building is able to provide, has enough students that we can provide the full continuum in each of those buildings. We are giving parents the option of a transfer request if they don't want to move to their home building. And then the deadline for that was March 1st, that they fill out that paperwork so that because that might make us adjust our staffing. So we are waiting for that piece, but that is something we're offering.
Okay, so there's a chance that, so a parent could request to stay in the school if they felt
Yeah,
like
they
were
fill out
receiving
the
the
transfer
appropriate-
request form, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Director DeSalvo.
Back, excuse me, to the chart. I'm looking at. I like the graphs; they're nice, but I'm looking at the chart and the citations, and I know it's a slow process, and then I totally understand that we have to make many efforts, and we have a lot of staff that we're throwing at this, and I'm just going to voice. We can't. Not that we would, but I don't want this to slow down. I don't want progress to come to stop. I'm not saying that would happen, but when I see 215 completed out of 2,286, and then there's other progress, and I understand that, but we've got to keep moving full force ahead, and I know you totally understand that, and I do appreciate the concerns with weather and situations, and I hope that we can do our best to make up for a lot of that lost time. So Mother Nature has not been very favorable to us in a number of areas, and this is just one of them because time is incredibly important here.
Yes.
So if we can offer support, please know that we are here to help.
You bet. I agree. Yes, yes.
President Johansson.
Interim Superintendent Schneckla.
Susan, will you please explain the timelines that are associated with this? That's the compensatory education component.
So the timelines for the actual holding of the IEPs, completing the reevaluations and holding the IEPs, which are Appendix A and Appendix B, those have to be done by April 23rd. And those we did hit a bump in the road with the weather over the last few weeks, but as we've reached out to buildings, though they say that it's going to be tight, they should be able to make the April 23rd deadline. We may have to offer some support. We'll work with AEA on that. But right now, we're feeling like we can make that deadline. As for the compensatory ed, that actually has to start as soon as possible after the IEP meeting. But that will be ongoing past April 23rd because, again, though we have some students who might have a matter of weeks of compensatory ed, we have some students that have months of compensatory ed, so it'll go into next year and perhaps even the next year.
Thank you.
So the only other thing I added is...
Hang on.
All right.
Hang on. Any other discussion? Okay, I've got a couple things. I'm always concerned, and I don't like the words, we feel like we're going to make it. Because we have to make it, right? And you're going to say, we will make it, right? Okay. And so a couple of things. One is, does Sandy believe that we will make it also?
Yes. Right now, yes. You want to come on up? Or do you want to stay there? Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we talk about this on a regular basis.
It doesn't count. If she doesn't say it in the microphone,
We stay on top of it and we talk about it on a regular basis.
Okay. And she believes in all of the citations that are not systemic that we will make the April 23rd deadline. Is that right?
Yes.
We were very careful from the very beginning to have April 23rd as the deadline, and then we back mapped from there. as far as which kids were automatically coming up for a reeval. And so we have a very carefully crafted schedule to make sure that we get it done, pending any unforeseen things that are beyond our control. But I think we also had a little bit of cushion. And the other thing is that while the numbers seem overwhelming, we have got lots of people meeting every single day. And so as one building finishes their meetings, we may be able to take the staff that was serving those buildings and hit up a building that's falling further behind. So we're monitoring it every day to make sure that we meet the April 23rd.
So I hope you can understand my being uncomfortable. And so when I look at all of this and I think about the work that you all are doing, and then when you talked about the AEA, parents, the district, the Department of Ed, and all of the work that's going on, and then in some of this where you talk about we still in some cases haven't been able to get a hold of those people or convince them to get this. And I think at least one or two of our board members had asked about that some time back, and I think you've continued, both of you, to say it's under control. At the State Board of Education seemed to have no comfort at all that any of that was under control, and that they had expectations that we would go above and beyond what the Department of Ed recommended or required. And I'm just wondering if, and Sandy, I mean, you probably know them better than anybody, but is that something that you would anticipate that they're going to say again, is you guys still haven't done enough?
I think that as you all have been, the state board has been concerned about the amount and the level to which of the work that needs to be done. But I think that the state board is also confident in my role in the Department of Education supporting the district to the point where they will get this done. If the Department of Education didn't believe that that number of kids could have been completed by April 23rd, there would have been further negotiations about that. As the department has said all along, it's a heavy lift, but we have got, how many people in total, 100
Oh, at
or
least.
more?
At least.
Working on
on
this
it.
every day. And so we are well supported by the AEA. Bringing in the contracted teachers that they were able to do was huge. So it's not as though we've just got a few people working on this. We've got teams after teams after teams doing this every single day.
Well, and I really thank you. Maybe I should not say anything more. And I guess I'll wait. You aren't done yet, Susan, right?
Right. All I was going to point out was we had talked about a parent survey going out to all parents. So we have the final questions that we vetted in a number of places, and then we sort of cleaned up the format. And now a person from my department is working with IT so that we can get this sent out within the next couple of weeks.
Director Beck.
I really appreciate that survey, and I think it's important to do this anonymous survey and get this feedback. I did notice a couple of typos, so I can send those to you separately.
Thank you. Yes, and then I'll send them on to our guide. Thank you.
So are you going to send notification in like the e-blasts that this is available? Because I noticed there's drop-down menus, and so a person the idea is that the person would go to the website and fill it out, correct?
I will send a link to it,
Okay.
but we have to work through making sure that everybody has access to that.
Right.
Because it'll be through our Google, and it's just, we need to, that's why we'll be working with IT.
Right, and I guess you would want, I mean, a person maybe could fill it out every time they have an IEP meeting, but we don't need a person to fill one out every day or something like that, right? So I'm assuming there's some way to sort of,
That's what we have to work out
when
with
they,
IT.
when they get the link,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. Okay, thank you
Yes,
very much.
Those are the things we'll want to work through.
Okay,
Thank you.
well, keep us in the loop and let us know.
bet.
Director DeSalvo.
I'm really glad to see the survey too, but I would also, some people don't have access
We know.
electronically, and I'm very concerned about that. And so I want to make sure that we have this broad enough where everybody has the opportunity to respond and respond anonymously. So that would be very important to me to make sure of that. And I would like to see the response as we get it. So thank you for that. And then with the other details, and I can't imagine the amount of files and paperwork and information that is stored. And I ask that, you know, perhaps that be available if a board member would say, hey, how is this case going, or how is that going? Would that be something that we could research if we wanted to, or are there rules
Well,
and laws that we couldn't do that?
I'm not sure exactly what you're asking.
Well, I guess I'm thinking from the auditor perspective, like, okay, so I'm going to come in and say, what happened with this student? How did this situation? Do we have a track record for all of this? There's a lot of work happening very rapidly. And I just want to make sure that we have enough information where when an auditor comes in, we can say, yes, this is what happened. This is the date. This is the contact. This is the progress the student has made. This is the follow-up. This is our plan. I'm assuming all of that is occurring somewhere, but I guess I would like to see that if I walked in and said, hey, show me a file, is that possible?
So, I mean, it would be within the IEP system, plus
Sure.
then for this work, we're keeping track of it in a spreadsheet, or AEA is. So we have that piece as well.
We would have to, are you talking about individual students?
Just a sampling, you know.
Yeah, we have to be extremely careful that we protect confidentiality.
Sure, I understand.
And quite honestly, I'm not certain under FERPA
Sure.
if a board have access to individual student information. That's
Sure.
something we would have to ask your attorney.
Yeah. And I understand that. I'm a little cautious in that, not that I'm not, I've lost some, I don't want to go there, but I know you're working very hard, and I just don't want there to be anything missed, and I don't want any T's to not be crossed or any I's to not be dotted. And I don't know a better way for us to know this is happening. I hear it from you. I see your spreadsheets. They look fantastic. I know we're working hard, but I have nothing tangible that I could say. Yeah, it's out there. I can see it.
And I can see where it would be a little hard to trust once you get into a situation like this. Another thing that we're doing, or that I've asked to have done, is that we need to start spot checking to make sure, going back and looking at kids that were done last summer, for example, and making sure that things are being delivered, because the department will be coming in and spot checking as well. And so while I feel like we are approaching the work cautiously and carefully and respectfully to all the students, there is a certain of haste that is happening. So we have to constantly be doubling back and checking ourselves to make sure that we are improving situations for students, not just getting the task done.
Exactly. That was, if I may, that was going to be my next point, that we are moving, and we're moving quickly. And at the end of the day, this does need to be about our students and the progress we're making with
right.
them, as well as the parents and teachers. So thank you.
Interim Superintendent Schneckloff.
I would like to remind the board to the very first, when Amy Williamson, Barb Guy, Dave Tilley were here, Amy Williamson said, and I think this will put you at ease, because it's very hard to just go off of what you see here. But they said, pretend like myself, Amy Williamson, when Sandy talks, it's like I'm here. We have an internal auditor with us every single day, and I promise you, she's not easy on us. If she sees something that needs to be corrected, she makes us correct it on the spot. If she tells you that we are right now going to make it, we're on trajectory. She's our internal auditor. She is the voice of the state, and she does not want to go back to the state and give a false report, because then that would be on her. And So that's where we sit. We take it very seriously. And so I remember that board meeting very crystal clear. And so that rings true with me. So if she says we're not on track, we're not on track. If she says we're on track, we're on track. And we try to make these reports. She reviews these reports. She's vetting those reports. And so we have to lean on her expertise that she's going to make sure that we are in compliance and moving forward. And her recommendations come as if the state are making those recommendations to us. This past 3 or 4 days that we had last week, having the state here, we got immediate feedback, immediate direction, and it was very helpful to know exactly what direction we were heading. And we have that every day with Sandy. So I want to make sure that the board knows that. And the documents that we have here, they are sent to us from the AEA. They're not ours. And the AEA is responsible for this. They are our chief compliance officer when in terms of special education. And so they would, if these documents are wrong, they're not, is what I'm trying to say. So is that an accurate statement?
It's true. By Iowa code, the AEA for special education is responsible for general supervision. General supervision under federal law means compliance. And so they are as responsible as the district. They also are your compliance officers, so to speak, as far as all this work, which is why it's so important that they be a very important critical partner. And they have been very good about being the data police, so to speak, and helping us make sure that we are on track and with the kids. But I just wanted to say it again that all of this work is about protecting the rights of students and protecting what they are owed, what they should have been given for whatever reason we're not, and now we're making up for that. But we would never do this work without protecting the due process of all these students, because that's first and foremost.
Thank you for that. I do appreciate it. Thank you.
Was there any more? I got a couple things. And I appreciate your words, and I do have 100% confidence in the Department of Education and in what's going on with the department and with the district in these efforts. And I'm trying to be careful. And I'll just say that I wish that other state organizations could have the same degree of confidence that I just expressed in the Department of Education. On these forms that are being sent out, you're going to send them, I was thinking about parents. Are you going to send them to the parents, or how do you, so do you send them to that person or persons? I'm just curious because I was thinking, well, what if there's two parents living in separate places? And I figure you have this all figured out, but I'm figuring that we got to know everything or we're in trouble. So if you had two parents living in, say, two different locations, maybe one's in one state and one's in another, I mean, what do you do with something like that? Do you send it to the parents, and then when the information comes back, because I am certainly not a special ed expert, and if you had two pieces of data that came back, do they apply, like each get a half to that student? I'm just curious how in the world you handle all that data.
So it won't, the actual survey is not going to be connected to a student because it's going to be anonymous. But if there are two parents who have parent rights listed in campus, we will have to email or mail, because if they have an email listed, that will be our first attempt, because then they can fill it out online and everything just loads up. But for those that don't, we'll have to mail a hard copy to them. And so that's going to take some work on our part because we're going to have to go through each student in campus. But if there are two parents and they're living in separate homes and they both carry rights, they're both going to get to fill one out. But it's not going to be tied, because it's their perception of the process and how we're doing. And
Right.
two parents could have two different views on what we're
Yeah,
doing.
that's what I was thinking. And so then if it's anonymous, then if I wanted to send in 50 responses, could I?
Well, we're only gonna, that's the piece we have to work out with IT to make sure that each parent gets one right now. Those are the pieces we still have to work through, right? And that's something we need IT to help us with.
Yeah, I would think that could be a real challenge. Oh, I had one other question. In all of these areas that you are considering and that you are updating us on, and you express confidence that we're going to be completed with every one of these by April 23rd.
Those in Appendix A and B, yes, because those are the ones that are required to be done by April 23rd.
Yep. And all I want to ask is if you were to rank them, I mean, some of them have already been completed. If you were to rank the one that causes you the most concern, which would it be?
I really couldn't rank them. Right now, we're in the process of doing the reevaluations for disproportionality or the reevaluations for functional behavioral assessment and behavior intervention plans. That's why they take a little bit longer. So they kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah, remember, the group of students that are on the list for individualization were taken care of last summer. And so it's really not a fair comparison as far as when they're getting done. Students who needed a reevaluation, we had to wait until school started because they're part of that evaluation. And so I don't see how you could
Yeah, I don't think
really
so
rank
either.
them.
They're all important. That's what I will say. They're all important.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you, Sandy. Thank you, Susan, very much. Is there anything else on the special education update? No? Do you have any administrative reports?
None at this time.
Are there any board requests? I have one partial one. So no? Okay. Then I guess I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
This meeting is adjourned.